take me into your psyche here over the last 24 hours. Yesterday was something, and then here we are with a bounce back.
Yeah. We're still overweight tech. One day doesn't make a trend, but I do think that the pullback was mainly due to profit taking. Shares of tech names have run quite a bit, as we know. The catalyst was lower rates. We had a good CPI report. I think investors took an opportunity to rebalance into names that perhaps can benefit more from lower interest rates. So we saw small caps rally. In fact, are rallying again today. Real estate, dividend payers. That being said, we still think there's a lot more leg in the tech sector. We have earnings announcements coming out later this month. We have high expectations for that. And also positive seasonality. In the last 10 years, July has been one of the strongest months for the tech sector. So we think there's more room to run.
When there's a lot of economic uncertainty, the stock market tends to fluctuate. And this recent pullback in the tech sector proves that. It's very likely that once interest rates are lowered, tech stocks will explode. And this is why many analysts are advising investors to stick with big tech and AI names. The legendary investor and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, is known for investing in many AI stocks, but his all-time favorite one is Apple stock, as it's his largest holding, accounting for more than 40% of his portfolio. So, why is Buffett betting big on Apple stock? And should investors follow his lead and buy Apple shares at its current price? Let's find out in today's video. But first, if you want to keep up with Apple's latest updates, and keep up with the stock market's latest news, you can follow our Twitter account. We post multiple times daily about the biggest changes and catalysts in the market, so click the follow button if you don't want to miss the newest market updates. Now, back to today's video.
Apple ended yesterday in the red as the Nasdaq had its worst day since the end of April. But prior to that, Apple shares had been up 11 of the previous 12 sessions. Our next guest just raised his price target to $256 a share from $230. Let's welcome Wamsi Mohan, Bank of America Securities Senior IT Hardware Analyst. Wamsi, great to have you with us. Part of this price target raise yesterday was the notion that people have old phones and that they're more likely to upgrade because of AI. And I'm wondering how much of it is just the fact that, whatever it is, 39% or so have an Apple 11 or older, me included, and how much of it is people wanting to get the latest to get the AI features.
Yeah, good morning, Melissa. Thanks for having me on. Look, I just think that it's really interesting. Our survey work shows that after WWDC, the purchase intentions of buying an iPhone in 2024 went up meaningfully. What that tells you is that people were looking for a real reason to upgrade, and you got it through the fact that you now have generative AI coming to the iPhone, but not just that. You also have the cutoff of upgrades, which is different from what other people have done, right? Like Samsung hasn't instituted this same kind of cutoff at an iPhone 15 Pro Max or at a Pro version. And so it's really giving impetus, not just for the typical cadence of upgrades where the install base is really aged, but also for the newer phone users beyond sort of just before the 15, the 14s and the 13s to actually upgrade a little bit more atypically. So there's a cyclical benefit and a component over here that we're picking up in our survey work, which I think is really interesting to drive upside to both 24 and 25 iPhones.
Warren Buffett still loves Apple as much as ever, as Berkshire Hathaway spent nearly $40 billion accumulating shares since 2016, and its position in Apple is now worth $184 billion. This is still a massive stake, despite the fact that Berkshire sold 13% of its stock for tax reasons earlier this year, and this shows just how much confidence Buffett has in Apple and Apple stock. Of course, this shouldn't come off as a surprise, because the company makes some of the world's most popular smartphones, and it could, very soon, be one of the world's biggest players in consumer AI. As you might already know, the company just revealed its Apple Intelligence AI software, which it developed in a partnership with OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT. Apple Intelligence is expected to go live in September, along with the new iOS 18 system, and many analysts think that it will completely overtake many of the company's existing software products. One of the most notable features of Apple Intelligence is the fact that Siri will be powered by ChatGPT. Not only that, but users will be able to read a summary of their emails in the Mail app with just a single tap. Additionally, Apple Intelligence can transcribe audio recordings, which means users can spend less time typing. It's important to note that there are more than 2.2 billion Apple devices worldwide, meaning that Apple will become the largest distributor of AI to consumers, just like how NVIDIA is the largest distributor of AI to enterprises. In fact, some analysts on Wall Street expect the upcoming iPhone 16 to drive a huge upgrade cycle because it's rumored to come with a powerful new chip designed specifically for processing AI workloads. With all of this in mind, is Apple stock a buy now, or has it gotten too expensive? Let's find out. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Investocracy.
So do you think that people will choose, if I'm at 11 right now, obviously I'm not really focused on the latest and greatest technologies because I'm willing to live with the phone that I have. But are you getting the sense that people are willing to trade to the highest level to get that AI upgrade? Because I think that changes the cadence, right, of how much revenue you actually build in because of this upgrade cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. The mix is going to be super important. Melissa, the real interesting thing about the mix is that there is this misconception that the Pro and the Pro Max are only relevant in developed markets, and emerging markets. They tend to gravitate to the lower versions of the phones. Our conversations with the company and our own survey work shows that the Pro and Pro Max have been gaining share ever since 2021, right? So from COVID levels, when people were guessing that, oh, this is all because of stimulus checks, that mix is sustained to be very, very strong now, 3 years post that, right? So it shows that people want the feature functionality. And so the more you offer them at the higher end, the more you're going to get that mix shift continue to be a positive driver for Apple. We actually think that there is a possibility that Apple introduces an Ultra model going into next year, so at the iPhone 17, which would be even higher than the Pro Max level. And that could be, when generative AI comes around, like the DRAM content becomes, really, really relevant. And so you could offer an Ultra model with increased DRAM content, which would be sort of the more powerful Gen AI phone that would be for Ultra Pro users, so to speak. So we actually see the mix not being an issue at all. We actually think it's going to be a positive tailwind for the company.
Up until June of this year, Apple stock had actually declined, underperforming when compared to its Magnificent Seven peers. This is because there were concerns over revenue declines in its products business and its lack of a position in AI. However, the iPhone maker seems to be turning things around with a massive shift in its product strategy, which is why we're going to walk you through 2 reasons why investors should be buying Apple stock like there's no tomorrow. First of all, earnings season is right around the corner. Apple's most recent earnings were mostly positive, despite revenue dropping 4% year over year, as the company's net sales of $91 billion beat analysts' expectations by $190 million. Additionally, the company reported an EPS of $1.53, which rose above forecasts by about $0.03. Also, after significant growth in its digital services division, the company enjoyed an overall rise in gross profit margins, hitting 47%. There are many reasons why we think that Apple's upcoming earnings, which will be reported on August 1st, will be even better, thanks to boosts in the company's Mac and iPhone segments. According to data from IDC, the PC market recovery has continued into the second quarter, rising 3% year over year. In fact, PC companies like Lenovo, HP, and Acer experienced increases between 2% and 14% during the period, while Apple delivered the most growth, with sales in its Mac segment soaring 21%. In addition to that, new reports show that iPhone sales saw a significant boost in China, which is Apple's third largest market. According to Bloomberg, iPhone shipments in the country soared 40% in May after rising 50% in April. This is incredible news for Apple stock investors, as sales in China have been a thorn in Apple's side this year, declining 8% year over year in Q2 amid rising competition from domestic brands like Huawei. In response to those declines, Apple started heavily discounting its products, and this appears to be paying off. Of course, discounts can sometimes be a short-term solution to a problem, but consumers' tendency to rarely switch operating systems when it comes to smartphones could play in Apple's favor as the sales potentially create long-term customers. And now, let's get into the second reason why Apple stock is a buy. But first, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, So if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
We want to get to one trending ticker that is one of those mega cap tech stocks. It's Apple. The shares are 1.4% higher today and trading at a record. This on a report that the company's aiming to ship at least 10% more new iPhones in 2024. That's according to Bloomberg. That growth would be welcomed, of course, by the tech giant after a sluggish 2023. And as we talked about a little bit yesterday, some analyst research had sort of been pointing in this direction. It looks like at least some of it is going to be AI-driven, it seems, Josh.
Yeah, so this is Bloomberg citing sources that Apple is targeting about 10% growth in new iPhone shipments. So if that report is accurate, it looks like Apple's relatively confident about these new AI-enabled phones. Bloomberg is right to point out, there's a caveat here. Apple does have an easier comp, an easier comparison here because the company had that tougher second half of 2023. There are some other questions too about, how exactly this all rolls out in China, where there are restrictions, how that could impact Apple's attempts to kind of build AI into the new products. But listen, Apple higher today and now up about 20% this year.
Well, and what's interesting here again is that this is Apple's plan. Now, you probably know this better than anybody. Is Apple pretty good at predicting what demand is going to be like, right? When it makes these shipment plans?
Well, it's always tough because there's so many puts and takes there.
Yeah.
I mean, it can obviously give a boost of confidence like you're seeing here. I think what's interesting is with this AI tech, I mean, the big thing here, what they're selling is that it's really a new and improved Siri, right? That's really the big selling point in some ways. And Siri often came in for a lot of criticism, right?
Yes.
And so to the extent, listen, our own Dan Howley, we've got to get the tech guys out there to really review it and see if it lives up to snuff. But if it does, that will be the way people do experience Gen AI. So if it does live up to the expectations, that could be a big deal. And listen, if you're a bull on the stock, it's kind of what you've been counting on. You think this AI-enabled iPhone is going to drive some meaningful upgrade cycle.
Apple fans know that the company unveils its latest iPhone lineup every September, and 2024 is no different. But this year's iPhone launch could be one of Apple's most crucial ones to date, with the company extending its push into AI. In Q2, iPhone sales actually fell 10% year over year, and this came with other declines in product segments. As the highest earning segment of Apple's business, smartphones appeared to be in need of an overhaul, and this is why Apple developed Apple Intelligence. When the software was announced, Apple revealed that only iPhone 15 Pros and higher will be able to access Apple Intelligence. On the other hand, Mac and iPad users will need devices equipped with the company's M1 through M4 chips to enjoy the features. Apple's new iPhone, set to be revealed in September, will be the first iPhone explicitly designed with AI in mind. And while we don't know what other new features it will include, we can say for sure that it could boost sales in the coming months and encourage shoppers to upgrade their smartphones to gain access to Apple Intelligence. And the company appears to be set on this strategy. In fact, Bloomberg reported on July 10th that Apple has told suppliers it's targeting about 10% growth in iPhone 16 shipments after iPhone 15 sales hit 81 million in the second half of 2023. Therefore, Apple's stock might be worth its current price tag. It's trading at about 35 times its forward earnings, which means it doesn't offer the best value. But the company's proven ability to increase profit margins and cash flow could make the stock worth its premium price. The company's AI push has opened the door to countless growth opportunities and ways to monetize its offerings in the coming years. And in addition to hitting $102 billion in free cash flow this year, Apple remains an attractive long-term buy that could be on the brink of a rally. So it's really no surprise to us that Warren Buffett is still all in. But what do you think about Apple stock? Is it a buy at the current price? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. And don't forget to tell us what your valuation for Apple is. If you would like to know what companies like Apple have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.